Ryan Garcia is a WBC welterweight champion who reportedly can't pay a $40,000 bet. He lost to a UFC fighter, Arman Tsarukyan, one of the top lightweights in the UFC, has been publicly calling Garcia out over the missing money, and what started as a friendly collaboration has now turned into one of the most entertaining feuds in combat sports. So let's get into how a body shot challenge on a Kick livestream led to accusations of being broke, threats involving Chimaev, and dueling million-dollar challenges that have the entire internet watching. On April 9, 2026, Ryan Garcia and Arman Tsarukyan were hanging out together. This was not unusual. Garcia is a legitimate world champion in boxing after his one-sided unanimous decision win over Mario Barrios in February, and he's also a world-class content creator with a knack for participating in viral clips. He teamed up with UFC lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan for an entertaining but costly video. During the stream, which was conducted on Garcia's Kick account, two men had been cruising around in a vehicle before arriving at a home when Tsarukyan bet Garcia $40,000 that he couldn't drop someone from his team with a body shot. The terms were laid out on camera. Tsarukyan proposed a $40K wager. Under the terms, Garcia would get 3 body shots to drop Tsarukyan's training partner, who, according to social media handle Happy Punch, weighs around 220 pounds. Garcia didn't even want to do it at first. Garcia was initially reluctant to participate, but agreed to the terms. And then what happened next is the part that cost him. The unnamed member of Tsarukyan's camp absorbed Garcia's power shots, barely flinching. Garcia conceded and surrendered the $40,000 on the spot, after landing 2 heavy shots, laughing as he shook the man's hand. Garcia, a world-class professional boxer, a man whose left hook to the liver has dropped trained fighters, in sanctioned bouts could not fold this guy. While the WBC welterweight champion switched stance and wound up for another shot, he ultimately decided against it, claiming his anxiety wouldn't let him go for full power. On the stream, Garcia conceded. He said he was done. He gave up the $40,000 or so everyone thought. Things seemingly escalated between Arman Tsarukyan and Ryan Garcia, as King Rai failed to pay up immediately after the bet concluded. As Garcia said he'd pay up the next day, Tsarukyan doubled down, stating that he would not leave before he got his money. "I'm not going to leave this building. I'm going to leave with my $40K. It was my cash on the line, you know?" Right there, on a live stream being watched by tens of thousands, the tone shifted. What was a fun moment between two fighters from different combat sports suddenly had an edge to it. Tsarukyan was not playing around. He wanted his money, and he wanted it that night. But Garcia's camp came up with a different plan. During the stream, Garcia lost a $40,000 wager after giving up on a challenge involving Tsarukyan's friend, boxer Rafael Simonian. Garcia was seen handing over stacks of cash on camera. So the money changed hands. On camera, viewers saw it. The internet saw it. Case closed, right? Not even close. The Armenian fighter recently revealed that he still had not received the money. The Armenian fighter said the WBC champion's team asked for the money back to count it, but then it disappeared. The 28-year-old said Garcia promised to send the money through a bank transfer, but after 5 days, he still had not even asked for his bank details. 5 days, no bank transfer, no request for bank details, no phone call, nothing. Garcia's team physically took the cash back from Tsarukyan's hands with a promise that it would be wired, and then the trail went cold. That is when the entire situation transformed from a lighthearted bet into something far more serious and far more public. If Garcia's camp thought the situation would quietly fade into the background noise of social media, they were mistaken. Arman Tsarukyan is not the type to let $40,000 disappear without saying something. In a recent vlog, Arman Tsarukyan revealed how Garcia never paid him $40,000 after losing a bet. The video spread across every combat sports platform within hours. In it, Tsarukyan laid out the timeline plainly. He explained exactly what happened with the cash, how Garcia's people asked for it back under the guise of counting it, and how the promise of a wire transfer turned into radio silence. Tsarukyan said, "They asked me to give back the $40K to count it, then it disappeared. Ryan told me he will do a bank transfer, and he gives me his word. It's been 5 days and he hasn't even asked for my bank details yet." That last line is the devastating part. Not just that the money hadn't arrived, but that Garcia hadn't even bothered to ask for Tsarukyan's bank information. A bank transfer requires account details. The fact that Garcia apparently never even asked painted a picture that was difficult to spin any other way. Boxing star Ryan Garcia is reportedly facing claims of an unpaid gambling debt to UFC contender Arman Tsarukyan, adding to a series of out-of-ring distractions. And what made the whole thing worse for Garcia is context. This is a man who flaunts wealth constantly. Garcia has often been associated with a lavish lifestyle and high-stakes gambling, frequently posting about his winnings and the sums he moves through various betting platforms. He broadcasts himself in luxury cars, posts from mansions, and throws cash around on streams. So for the combat sports world, the question became unavoidable. If you live that lifestyle, why can't you pay $40,000? However, when these private agreements become public disputes, it raises questions about the stability of the circles in which these fighters move. That's what turned the conversation from Ryan Garcia lost a bet into Ryan Garcia might be broke. One is a funny moment. The other is an accusation that can genuinely damage a fighter's reputation and marketability. The vlog also wasn't just Tsarukyan airing his grievance alone. Tsarukyan told journalist Adam Zubayrayev that Garcia's team asked for the money back to verify the amount and have not returned it. He said, "Me and Khamzat will talk to Ryan Garcia. He's not paying his $40,000 bet. He asked to give it back to count it because they weren't sure and they never gave it back. They said they'll wire it." Khamzat Chimaev, the UFC middleweight champion, one of the most feared fighters on planet Earth. That's who Tsarukyan was bringing into this. UFC middleweight champion Chimaev is one of Tsarukyan's closest friends and training partners. Cornering him for his last outing against Dan Hooker at UFC Qatar, this wasn't just trash talk. These two train together, they travel together, they are genuinely close. So when Tsarukyan says he and Khamzat are going to talk to Garcia, the implications are layered. It's not a phone call, it's a statement of intent. Garcia was seen handing over stacks of cash on camera. However, Tsarukyan later clarified that he did not keep the money, and the situation has since escalated, with Khamzat Chimaev potentially stepping in. For Garcia, this was no longer just about $40,000. It was about the optics. A professional boxer, a WBC world champion, apparently ducking a payment to a UFC fighter while the whole internet watched, and now, two of the most dangerous men in mixed martial arts were publicly saying they were going to come collect. Rather than quietly settle the debt and move on, Ryan Garcia did what Ryan Garcia always does. He doubled down and made it louder. Instead of settling the issue financially, Ryan Garcia suggested turning it into a fight. He proposed a boxing match, offering $100,000. If Tsarukyan or someone from his team could last 8 rounds in the ring with him, Garcia posted publicly, "If Arman survives 8 rounds with me, I'll give him $100,000. I don't care what MMA fans say about real fighting. There's a reason MMA fighters can't box. It's hard to use only your hands." Read that carefully. Garcia isn't offering to pay the $40,000 he owes. He's deflecting the entire conversation by creating a new challenge with a bigger number. It's a classic move in the world of social media combat sports beefs. Change the narrative. Make the story about whether Tsarukyan can hang in a boxing ring, not about whether Garcia actually paid his debt. At the same time, he made it clear he had no intention of paying the original amount, framing the situation as something that should be resolved competitively instead. That right there tells you everything. Garcia was not disputing the bet. He was not claiming the terms were unfair. He was simply refusing to honor the agreement and trying to redirect the conversation into a space where he holds every advantage. An 8-round boxing match against a man who has never boxed professionally. The response from Tsarukyan was immediate, and it was ruthless. Tsarukyan fired back on Twitter, "100K for 8 rounds, LOL. Survive 1 round of MMA sparring with me, and I'll give you $1 million. $1 million 1 round, MMA rules. Not in a cage, not in a sanctioned bout. Sparring. With a man who has beaten Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira. Tsarukyan is one of the top contenders in the UFC lightweight division, thanks to recent wins over Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira. A man whose entire skill set revolves around takedowns, ground control, and submissions. The exact things a boxer has zero training for. The brilliance of Tsarukyan's counteroffer is in the math. Garcia offered $100,000 over 8 rounds of boxing, a sport where Garcia is a world champion. Tsarukyan offered $1 million over 1 round of MMA, a sport where Tsarukyan is a top 3 contender. The implied message was loud. You're offering pocket change in a game that's rigged in your favor, so let me offer you 10 times the money in a game rigged in mine. But there's a secondary message buried in Tsarukyan's response, and it's the one that actually went viral. $100K for 8 rounds, LOL. That LOL does more work than any paragraph of trash talk ever could. It dismisses Garcia's offer as small money. It implies $100,000 isn't even worth getting out of bed for. And for a UFC fighter to laugh at the financial offer of a WBC boxing champion, it raises an uncomfortable question about who actually has more money. During their time together, Garcia got a sneak peek at Tsarukyan's bank account. He couldn't believe his eyes. Considering how much money Garcia has made in his career, that's pretty surprising. That detail, from just days before this whole feud erupted, adds even more weight to Tsarukyan's dismissal. It's no secret that Arman Tsarukyan comes from a very wealthy family. The UFC star is not shy with his money and can often be spotted shopping for luxury watches and cars. So now the internet had all the ammunition it needed. A boxer who couldn't pay $40K versus a UFC fighter who showed that same boxer his bank balance and left him stunned. The narrative practically wrote itself, and it was not flattering for Garcia. To understand why this $40,000 situation resonated so powerfully, you have to understand the financial trajectory of Ryan Garcia's career. This is a man who has earned tens of millions of dollars in the ring. According to Celebrity Net Worth, Ryan Garcia's net worth is $50 million. The fight certainly wasn't a financial failure for Garcia, though. He was guaranteed a hefty $2.5 million to step into the ring against Davis. Between that PPV buys and other bonuses, Garcia made out like a bandit. His promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, later announced that Ryan made $30 million for the evening's work. That's one fight. $30 million for a single night against Gervonta Davis in 2023. And that's before we even get to the endorsement deals. His endorsement deals read like a who's who of major brands: Gatorade, Gymshark, Dior, 1800 Tequila, Young LA. The Gatorade deal was huge. He became the first American boxer ever to land a national Gatorade campaign, appearing in commercials alongside NBA star Damian Lillard. That's the kind of crossover appeal that most fighters can only dream about. So how does a man with that kind of financial infrastructure end up in a public dispute over $40,000? The answer lies in the turbulent years between that Davis payday and today. Garcia's career began to unravel in the lead-up to his April 20th, 2024 showdown with his longtime rival, then WBC junior welterweight champion Devin Haney. His erratic behavior before the fight initially seemed to be a ploy to get Haney to lower his guard, but then Garcia blew his opportunity to win the title before the fight began, when he came in 3.2 pounds overweight, forfeiting his championship eligibility. The fight went on as scheduled, and Garcia knocked down the undefeated Haney 3 times. In a stunning majority decision win, Garcia subsequently shattered all his positive momentum 2 weeks later, when he was informed he had tested positive for the banned substance Ostarine the day before and the day of his fight with Haney. The fight result was overturned to a no contest, and a year-long suspension was levied by the New York State Athletic Commission. The financial damage was immediate and severe. In addition to his 1-year ban, Garcia will forfeit $1 million in earnings to Golden Boy Promotions and will pay a $10,000 fine. Haney filed a civil lawsuit against Garcia and received an undisclosed portion of Garcia's purse. Then came a full year without being able to fight. No purses, no pay-per-view shares, no event bonuses. For a fighter whose primary income stream is fighting, a year on the shelf is catastrophic. When Garcia finally returned in May 2025, things did not go as planned. He lost by unanimous decision to Rolando Romero in May 2025 for the WBA welterweight title, and the performance was about as bad as the result. Garcia and Romero combined for one of the lowest punch outputs in CompuBox history. For a 12-round fight, with a combined 123 punches landed out of a total of 490 punches thrown, Garcia himself admitted he was in a terrible place during the layoff. During that year off, I was super out of focus and wasn't treating my body well. Garcia said, "I thought I could get my body in shape 2 months before the fight, and it just wasn't working. My body was rejecting everything because of everything I did to it. I couldn't lose the 30 pounds I gained, couldn't get myself to train hard, and I was genuinely disinterested because I realized that no matter what, my body couldn't overcome that year of abuse." He also had a bizarre episode in 2024 where he publicly stated he had lost access to his finances. An uneasy Garcia vaguely spoke of his recent troubles. insisting he no longer has access to his mobile phone or bank account. Then there was the time he literally asked fans for money on social media. Hours earlier, Garcia turned to X, writing, "Going broke, Cash App me $1. I'll return the favor." He even shared a screenshot of his details on the Cash App so people can send the money seamlessly. Now, in fairness, Garcia did bounce back. His focus remains on boxing, where he recently defeated Mario Barrios to win the WBC welterweight title and continues to look for his next opponent. He even reportedly turned down enormous money to chase legitimacy. When talk surfaced that Garcia had turned down a $25 million offer to fight Paul, skepticism followed fast. According to Celebrity Net Worth, Ryan Garcia's net worth in 2026 sits at around $50 million. So is he broke? On paper? Absolutely not. But the pattern of behavior, asking fans for Cash App dollars, losing access to his bank account, not paying a $40,000 bet, tells a story that numbers on a net worth website can't fully capture. Something in Garcia's financial life has been inconsistent, and Tsarukyan's public exposure of the unpaid bet tapped directly into that narrative. So here we are. A $40,000 body shot bet has spiraled into a full-blown combat sports saga, involving a WBC champion, a UFC title contender, the UFC middleweight champion, dueling challenges worth 6 and 7 figures, and a very public debate about who is actually rich and who is faking it. What began as a casual moment on a live stream has turned into an ongoing back and forth between Arman Tsarukyan and Ryan Garcia. A simple challenge involving $40,000 has now escalated into public accusations, and even talk of a potential fight, though that still feels far from reality. Even with both sides throwing out challenges, the chances of this turning into an actual fight seem low. Ryan Garcia has already made it clear that he isn't interested in competing in MMA, dismissing the idea of adapting to grappling or that style of fighting. His focus remains on boxing, where he recently defeated Mario Barrios to win the WBC welterweight title and continues to look for his next opponent. On the other side, Tsarukyan is staying active in his own sport. The 29-year-old is set to compete in an upcoming bout, keeping his attention on his MMA career rather than any crossover spectacle. As far as fights are concerned, Garcia is expected to face Conor Benn in August. That's a massive fight at welterweight, one of the biggest matchups that can be made in boxing right now. And for Tsarukyan is also aiming to fight for the title, and many believe he will face the winner of the Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje fight. These are men with actual careers to tend to, actual title ambitions to chase, and actual money to make in their respective sports. But here's the thing that makes this story stick, and the reason the title of this video hits differently than your average social media beef. In the combat sports world, reputation is often as valuable as a championship belt. While Garcia's marketability remains high, repeated stories regarding reliability can impact future promotional deals and partnerships. If the reports are accurate, the move to ghost a fellow professional athlete over a debt could be viewed as a baffling decision by industry observers. For Tsarukyan, this entire situation has been a masterclass in leveraging a moment. Garcia clearly enjoys Tsarukyan's energy, and Tsarukyan understands Garcia's platform is a megaphone for his own visibility. Before a likely lightweight title push, but what started as collaborative content creation has now flipped. Instead of Tsarukyan borrowing Garcia's spotlight, he's stealing it entirely, and doing so by painting the richer, more famous fighter as the one who can't cover a bet. Tsarukyan has shown a willingness to place significant bets recently. He previously wagered $10,000 with Giorgio Poulas ahead of a wrestling rematch. Under the Real American Freestyle banner, he has also attempted to convince Aiden Ross to place a $1 million bet on a fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland. That pattern underlines his comfort with high-value stakes and his positive winning percentage in those cases. This is a man who bets frequently, wins frequently, and expects to get paid when he does. The question of whether Ryan Garcia is truly broke probably misses the point. A man with a $50 million net worth and a WBC title is not broke in any conventional sense. But what Tsarukyan did, intentionally or not, is expose something that might be worse than being broke in the world of combat sports: being unreliable. Being the guy who flashes cash on live streams but can't honor a bet. Being the fighter who proposes new challenges instead of settling old debts. The culture of clout often means that these disputes are aired in the public square, before they are ever settled in a boardroom. Garcia has built one of the largest digital followings in boxing, using his platform to engage with fans and rivals alike. But when allegations of being short on a debt surface, that same platform becomes a liability. That's the irony of this entire saga. The social media machine that made Ryan Garcia into one of boxing's biggest stars is the same machine that's now amplifying the narrative that he's broke. Every comment, every repost, every LOL from Tsarukyan makes it worse. And until Garcia either pays the $40,000 or convincingly explains why he hasn't, the story isn't going anywhere. Maybe it ends with a quiet wire transfer and a few deleted tweets. It is likely that this story will either end with a quiet bank transfer, or a prolonged war of words on social media. Or maybe it keeps escalating until someone steps into a ring or a cage and settles it the old-fashioned way. Either way, Arman Tsarukyan turned a body shot challenge into the most talked about combat sports story of the week, and in doing so, planted a seed that Ryan Garcia's camp will spend a long time trying to uproot. Whether Garcia is broke or not, the perception has already taken hold. And in the world of social media, combat sports, perception is everything.